Ladies and gentlemen, step right up to the new amazing show. We will take a dead game and bring it back to life with a patch. Behold, StarCraft 2 is still alive. Someone posted something, October the 21st, 2024. 5.0.14 PTR patch, courtesy of the Zerg Cabal. Greetings, blah, 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 blah. Previous patch mostly achieved its goals, mostly fixing community pain points around Widow Mines and Cyclone, slightly helping Protoss players in early and mid game against Terrans. However, the current patch has a couple more ambitious goals outlined below. Nerf defensive and camping playstyles. Continue reshaping Protoss tools. Sure, shape those tools as you need to. There's a gap between how Protoss race plays and feels on the highest level and levels below. The current set of changes aims to make Protoss race slightly more efficient with the strongest and smartest execution, while helping Terran and Zerg players against Protoss on the lower levels. As a note, I would be the kind of player who is not at Cyril and Rainer's level. I'm playing at a mid to upper NAGM level, which in this sense does include lower level, specifically regarding low APM turtle styles and how strong those are defensively. I'm really excited to read through this patch with you. I already read through it this morning. It's great work that the Zerg Cabal has been doing, just trying to look out for us because our population has been very low. Just to give you a quick assessment here of my personal games, in GM I've got the most Terran, and then Protoss, and then quite a bit fewer Zerg. I'll show you EU server real quick here too. So this isn't at the highest level, but at a Grandmaster level, on EU server especially, Terran is super duper represented, and Protoss is also fairly numerous, and I'm getting very few Zerg. Of about 100 games, I have less than 20 of Zerg, 50 of Terran, and 30 of Protoss. And I think a lot of this boils down to many of the tactics that you can use to turtle on 3 base and just absorb attacks and not harass at all and just F2 your army at home. Many of those tactics and strats have been nerfed in this patch. Let's go at it. Let's go at it here. Okay. Third goal is to provide strong playstyle alternatives for various matchups. Zergs might now be better equipped to use ground-based armies against mass air strategies. Some of the Terran mech units are now more efficient in harassment or certain straight-up fight scenarios. They want to add overall gameplay and quality of life improvements across all levels of play. Cool, let's do the Protoss changes. The Nexus shield battery overchargeability removed. Man, wow. What a strong ability. I'm gonna miss it. Just kidding. New ability added, Energy Overcharge. It costs 50 energy on the Nexus and recharges 100 energy of the targeted allied unit or structure with a max range of 8. So you could give a Sentry energy, you could give a High Templar energy, you could give a Shield Battery energy. Cool. This is great. Protoss passively turtling on 3 bases with Shield Battery and just sitting their army at home and then banking Storm Energy and going to attack you. This makes me happy. Zerg could get more aggressive against Protoss. Traditionally, it hasn't really felt like Zerg can all-in Protoss because if they put Shield Batteries in the wall, the battery overcharge just feels like Protoss cannot have a unit die while the overcharge is going, if they position their units correctly with it. It's just really hard. Or you have to dive the battery, which oftentimes it's pretty far back. Shield and HP increase from 150-150 to 200-200, so it's a bit tankier now. Makes it tankier in the wall. Colossus shield and HP change from 150-200 to 100-250. This is mainly to help them versus EMP. And just the overall sense of the game. For people at the highest level of play, it seems like Terran is favored against Protoss. Zerg versus Protoss is pretty balanced, and Zerg versus Terran is pretty balanced, but Turtle Terran is difficult to deal with. As a ladder player like myself, who's in GM but not at the like top tournament level, Turtle Terran with mech is very, very common and very low APM and relatively easy to play. And Turtle Sky Toss as well, where they don't really do anything except spam static defense and air units, or even just a ground army like High Templar, and they chill at home. So seeing these changes that restructure turtle strategies and make them weaker and incentivize aggression, to me sounds great. That sounds like more active back and forth StarCraft. And most people who I talk to, like, their least favorite things are Turtle Terran, just because it feels like you're working harder than the opponent if you have map control and you're on their side of the map and you're attempting attacks at them. Cool. Tempest cost supply decreased from 5 to 4. Damage point decreased, so they hit a little bit faster. Their air range is decreased. As a Zerg, this is great for us because of the early Tempest build that starts to snipe queens. That build is pretty annoying, and it's good on a lot of the maps in this pool. I don't know what the maps in the next season are going to be like, but early Tempest build for me is more of an issue than a late game Tempest transition to deal with Broodlords or just late game in general. So this is meant to help Tempest be more supply efficient in the late game and just be better DPS. They'll have less range, but faster damage to hit. And then they also take up less supply, so you can have more of them. The Immortal change is great. This is great. Let's enjoy this together, chat. Mineral cost decreased from 275 to 250. Oh my gosh, they can make them for cheaper now? Yes, but their weapon cooldown is increased from 1.04 to 1.14. 9.6 increase. So they attack slower. They are a lower DPS unit. Developer comment: the damage output from Immortals seemed to be too high in the Protoss versus Zerg matchup across all levels of play. While Immortals' mineral cost is slightly decreased to compensate for the DPS nerf, they should help Zerg survive against various Protoss mid-game and late-game attacks. So this is something that I was so happy when I saw this, and a whole bunch of matches recently in my mind just flashed before my eyes. Here's what happens. Protoss is on 3 bases. You have Spotterlings at the 4th bases. They don't take a 4th. They don't take a 4th, but they have enough money on those 3 bases to get maxed out with like 8 Immortals, some Archons, and a bunch of Storm. And even if you kill all of their probes, if they got to that army, they can move across the map and kill a maxed out Roach Ravager army fairly straightforwardly if you dealt too much damage on offense. So it felt like it was a very easy power spike to get to. Throw 2 robotics down, spam Immortals. When you get 200 supply, go across and win. It's a very simple game plan, and they don't even really need to harass with the unit to make that game plan work. So when I saw this note, just seeing that their top end of DPS in a maxed out army, because the Immortal is the same supply, it's just a little bit cheaper for minerals, so they can get them slightly earlier. But as a Zerg, I don't really care about the Immortal being picked up earlier. It's just how supply efficient the unit is. It's just super high DPS versus a Roach Ravager based army, or versus a Lurker army, and also versus buildings. The Immortal is insane, so this makes me very happy. Very happy to see this. Okay, Disruptor gets some changes. This is a relatively rare unit for me as a Zerg to face, so this is mainly for PvP and PvT. Purification Nova Radius increased, so it hits a wider area. The damage was decreased from this to this, so it does relatively more shield damage, so it's more of a specialized PvP unit. Does Terran have shields? I don't think so. So they're difficult to play against in the lower levels. On the highest level, their efficiency dropped down significantly after previous changes. Lings are faster than Disruptors, so as a Zerg, if you see them going Disruptors, just upgrade your Lings, get Adrenal Glands, and have a bunch of Zerglings in your max out. It's pretty good. Protoss has to choose if they're making a Disruptor or a Colossus, so you can pivot between Roaches and Lingbane, depending on what they do. So this means that they're more efficient against fast units, like Marine, Ghost, Baneling, Hydra, and they're not quite as good against Marauder, Roach, and Ravager. And not one-shotting Ravagers, that's a pretty big nerf to the unit, it feels like. in the Protoss versus Zerg matchup. Because that's one of the big comeback mechanics, is if you have a big Roach Ravager army, they use the Novas, they can one-hit your army really fast. So another change that makes me happy. Let's go. Mothership increased to 400, supply of 8. Shield HP increased, so it costs more, but you get more. Max damage is now 4 beams instead of 6. Cool. It can target 4 units at the same time. As a note, this is the only hero unit in the game, I think. So it's going to be kind of weird to balance because you want it to be good, but you don't want it to just be a free win. So this is interesting. Just have it hit harder and move faster and stuff. The maneuverability of this looks crazy. I don't see motherships super often in my games. All right. Cool Protoss changes. So this seems like a rework that isn't going to impact you most of the time because most people don't get this much money anyway. So let's not hyperventilate about that too much. Disruptor change is good for me. Immortal is great. The Tempest change is great for the Tempest 2 base build. Colossus change doesn't matter for Zerg. And then this is an amazing battery overcharge going away and the shield battery rework. I think that's really good for Zerg being able to be more aggressive at all stages of the game. Okay, Terran changes. Bunker missile turret sensor tower. Salvage ability added to missile turret and sensor tower. Salvage process can be canceled upon taking damage. Cool. Terrans can be more efficient while moving from one defensive point to another. They can increase their overall investment in early game attacks. Salvage is easier to counter. Okay. Planetary Fortress. Wait, what? Armor decreased from 3 to 2? Hang on, I think there's a choir singing outside. Oh my gosh. They're singing some kind of gospel, but it sounds like they're celebrating aliens being able to exist happily on the map again. That's amazing. Huge planetary nerf. Planetaries were not chopped in half, but a third of their armor is now gone. That's huge. So this mainly is going to affect Lings. That's kind of the biggest thing here. Anything that attacks really fast is going to be happier when the armor goes down. More so than something that attacks slow, like a Thor or whatever. The Thors don't care what the armor of something is because they hit ground so slow. Whereas a Ling, they're like... And in that case, armor upgrades are a real hassle for them because they get penalized by the armor every time they strike. Same thing with carrier interceptors. Interceptors hit really fast, so armor upgrades are a natural counter to them. So this also helps carriers kill planetaries. Pretty cool. This is massive. One of the things that tilted Zergs the most is the Planetary Fortress, and now it's a bit more squishy. Sensor Tower. Mineral and gas costs decreased from 125/100 to 100/50. Radar range decreased from 27 to 22. This is awesome. This is super good. Sensor Tower vision right now is like huge booba. Like the whole minimap. It feels like if they put 2 of them on their side, they can see their whole half of the map pretty much. And they can get 5 base. 5 base and see any attacks coming in, except for the very edges around the map where you have to fly an Overseer and try to Nidus or fly Mutas around. The area of this is ridiculous. So for this area to be tuned down means that you have more space to run Lings around, to run Mutas around, to run your Overseer or your Overlord drops around to get them into the base. And it costs them more APM. This is massive. This is very good for us. I'm happy. So this is a good change. This is a good change. Also, for people who play Terran or Protoss, feel free to place your complaints in the YouTube comments. And if you can split those into a few separate YouTube comments, that helps us in the Zerg Cabal, just to break things down in more of like a Zergling style for us to understand. Orbital command here, extra supply call down also increases the HP of supply to 500, immediately repairing it. So kind of a niche thing here. This is mainly for high level play, I guess. But really this could help anybody. If you're blowing through your mules, then you wouldn't have the energy for that, but it's healing. That's cool. That's pretty cool. Blue Flame Hellion increases bonus damage versus light, increased from +5 to +9. As the Blue Flame upgrade rarely utilizes harassment tool, it's added to allow Hellions with Blue Flame to two-shot workers. Okay. This might incentivize mech players to go outside of their base. That's valid. Liberator. Advanced ballistics effect changed from providing +2 range in defender mode to increasing the radius in defender mode. So it's going to cover your whole screen. Smart servos upgrade is affecting them so they can change mode faster. I like this because it just makes it really simple for the defending player. If the Liberator is on, then it can just shoot your whole screen. And if it's off, then you're safe. So I think this makes it a lot less confusing about where's the radius. Now it's your whole computer, so that's good. Makes it nice and straightforward. The Liberator has been a fucky unit for map designers. It's probably the most difficult to work with because of how far away it can shoot people's workers using its mode. So this, I guess, means they'll have to be a little bit closer in. I wonder if this will make it easier to clean them up. No, because it's with the upgrade. I face upgraded Liberator harass pretty seldom. The only people who use this against me are like top 50 GMs who do this after bio. Like they'll go Marine, Tank, Medivac, and then they'll mix in Marauders and stuff, get their 3/3, and then they'll get Liberator range, and then send one Liberator each of my bases. So during that phase, this would affect a Zerg. But yeah, pretty rarely take an upgrade overall. The splash damage is increased. Okay, explosive payload splash. Well, no one was magic boxing muted anyway because Thor's countered them too hard already, so I feel like this is no change for us. You don't want to trade light air units versus Thor's anyway. It just doesn't happen. The splash radius is increased and the attack range is decreased, which means you can dodge them more easily, like fly around them. Currently, they just shoot you from like the StarCraft game over, but yeah, you'll be able to fly around them more. Zerg changes, let's go. The Queen mineral cost is increased from 150 to 175. So that's 5 little drone trips more. Hatchery mineral cost decreased from 300 to 275. So 270, that's 25 cheaper. We'll see what the opening build feels like with this, but my immediate reaction was that this was a good thing because you can take your second base a little bit more cheaply and then your third base also. So between those two expansions being 25 cheaper and these first two queens being 25 more expensive, you might have the same build. I haven't tested it yet, but it might not change the opening that much. And what it will do is make expanding better for Zerg, and it will also make macro hatches better for Zerg. A style that I've already been experimenting with is double macro hatch, which is really cool. I think you should try it. But this is a direct buff to that. Spine Crawler, build time decreased from 36 to 32, damage increased from 25 plus 5 versus armored to 30. Cool, this makes the spine better against ZVZ cheese, like Lingbane cheese. The spine is now better. If someone were to do Proxy 4-Gate Zealot, we've been buffed. This does buff the drone spine cheese. Yeah. Yikes. Oh, God. Uh-oh. We'll have to see what this does as ZVZ. It might just be Spine Wars. Who knows? This is good for late game. Quite a bit, because most of the run by that you deal with are DTs, Zealots, Lings. Yeah. So if you're spining up your bases, this is kind of nice. We do better versus Zealot run by in the late game. Damage increased on the Spore. HP decreased. I don't care. That's awesome. We have more DPS in the field. So if you're against mass air and you just mass spores, you're actually kind of chilling. This is cool. So they're trying to get us away from relying too much on the queen and adding in more of these and more of this. I'm fine with that. I'm down to try. Hydralisk move speed on creep with muscular augments decreased. So it's 5.5%. That's not a huge change. And they're not fighting on creep that often, it feels like. Well, they should be. New ability added Dash. Dash is researched on the Hydra Den, requires Hive. It costs 100 minerals, 100 gas. Takes 64 seconds. Dash is an active non-targeted ability with a 10-second cooldown. Upon its use, it receives 60% move speed bonus. This seems pretty jacked. Kind of makes you wonder if Lingbane Hydra will come back versus Protoss or something. Or even versus Terran. Lingbane Hydra was something that I played most of the time. And then I gradually moved toward Roach Ravager and away from that. But this doesn't come online until Hive, which is pretty far. Pretty far in the tech tree. The idea for this is you can now dodge storms with it and Purification Novas. Someone's going to make a build with this for sure. I remember when Jaedong made the double Hydra Den build. Or at least he was the first person to use it in a pro game that I saw, where he threw down 2 of them whenever they split the upgrade, and he would just get them both at the same time. Infestor Microbial Shroud is now sticking to units, providing them with its effect for 3.6 seconds while off the Shroud. This is good. I don't know if the Infestor will still be a unit that I'll want to make, but it used to be Microbial Shroud was also known as Please Storm Here. Just because it gave a really nice visual indicator of where the Protoss should plant their storms. And you had to choose between, do I want resistance versus air, or do I want to die to the storm? Or I guess not resistance to air, but I dodged the storm. It put us in a bad spot, so this is good. Good thing to try. Infestor might go from bad to decent. Ultralisk, while moving, Ultras are now able to push allied units. You can kind of see it infographic here. So the roaches get kind of scooted to the side. It pushes them forward a little bit if it's stuck between 2 of them. That's pretty cool. I wonder if this will have any bugs to it initially. I've wanted unit walking with ultras for a long time. This kind of feels like a compromise to that. It's not exactly unit walking like Colossi have, but kind of a similar effect. Broodlord Broodling HP is increased from 20 to 30. That's pretty good. Broodling weapon cooldown decreased, so they shoot more often, and the Broodlings are tankier. Fix the bug which prevented the Broodlord from dealing full damage while shooting from the max distance. Seemed to lose too much power in head-to-head fights after the previous set of changes. The Broodling changes are now reverted, which combined with the bug fix should help them perform better in various late game scenarios. Yeah, the Broodlord and the Infestor, I would say, are 2 of the units that just feel really difficult to make work, ever. And whenever I make Broodlords in the late game, it almost never goes well. I'll be against a turtling player, I have as much money as I want, I'll try to make some Broodlords, and then they die to Thors. So yeah. Well, cool. Those are the Zerg changes. Happiest about the Ultra change, the hatchery cost decrease, and the Spore Crawler damage increase. That's sick. Sickman. Alright. General stuff. Orbital command. Sweep uses team color. Okay. Sensor tower uses team color. Command Center, Nexus, and Hatch now auto-rally to mineral fields. This will save you a click at the start. Actually, no, it'll save you a click every time you take a base. But if you're really trying to min-max your saturation, you would be mining to the closest patch from the previous base and to the furthest patch from that base, so it fills evenly. So you'll still probably adjust it. I'll still probably click it and do it. Workers waiting for refinery, extractor, assimilator do not count as idle. That's a small quality of life improvement, I guess. SCV random delay between moving, adjusted. Cool. That's when they're building something when they change sides. Makes it a little bit more of a consistent time spread. Added icon showing unupgraded passive stuff. Siege tank and immortal tracking changed from previous patch reverted. Fix an issue where blinding cloud caused certain melee units to be more easily cancelled. Fix an issue where blinding cloud caused planetary to non-attack units at melee range. Issuing orders on certain types of rocks and fog. Oh, this is funny. I wonder if this is the thing where if you put a creep tumor near a rock, it like changes size sometimes. Fix an issue with changeling zealot, move animation speed. Tweaked Hydralisk move animation speed to match its actual movement speed, art only. This is a great patch. The Zerg Cabal really went all out here. I think this is probably my favorite thing. This might be my favorite thing. Or this. They didn't touch the Ghost, which a lot of people have commented on that, but I feel like the Ghost was protected by the planetary and the sensor tower. So by addressing these, the Ghost is now more realistic to pursue. And you can still just trade Banes with a planetary or trade Lings with a planetary more efficiently. So this does punch into the efficiency of Turtle Terran by quite a lot. Because people will take planetary fortresses not just as their 4th and their 5th and 6th, but they will also put them between their bases and in front of their bases just to turtle up even harder. So this affects all of that. And this makes harass a lot more viable. So you can be sending Ling Bane on the sides of the map a lot more. So this is clutch. I'm excited about it. Let's see, did they say when this stuff might go in? Thanks for providing your feedback for previous patches. Cool. So this will go on the PTR first. These changes are not final. So if anything is busted or clearly overpowered, feel free to help them test it. I do like that they're talking through these notes and trying to make the game better both at the highest level and also at lower levels of play. Where the most abusive turtling styles that are very passive, there are things that you can do about it, and it does incentivize aggression, which I think is good. Making more action on the map happen. I like that ambition. Dash Hydras to snipe ghosts. Like by shift right clicking them. Normally you would just A move with Hydras to get the best uptime of your units attacking. Hydra Dash, we'll see how that goes. I'm curious about that upgrade. I'm not sure, but it could make them a more spammable unit in the late game. That would make them a better Hive Tech unit. They fall off pretty hard at Hive Tech because they're so countered by AoE. But if the AoE stuff just can't even catch them, then that seems really cool. Stim Hydras. Great patch. Well, let me know your thoughts. For me personally, I'm excited, I'm happy. As a Zerg person and as a StarCraft enthusiast, this is just generally good. Generally nice that we get a patch. The game is being looked at. Someone cares. The Night Zergs of the Cabal, they care about giving us a good game. And then if you're a Terran or a Protoss and you don't have Zerg bias like me, what do you think? Do you think this is a good patch or not? Let me know. But at least we can say that the game is not completely dead. New patch, new map, new patch, new map, new patch, new map!